but it has been,
Stop watching Fox or CNN or whatever you watch all day. It's fake news. It's crazy. I won't even.
All right. Hi, everybody. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and that somewhere is here. This is the Friday edition of TRD Talks Live. I'm Stuart Elliott, the editor-in-chief of The Real Deal, and today's panel is looking at tech that's helping landlords and renters during the coronavirus crisis. A month or two ago, we would have said tech amenities in buildings have to do with ease and convenience. Now it's a matter of grave safety to limit the spread of the virus. And we're going to look at how companies are innovating to meet that need. So we're going to be opening up the chat function in a bit so people can have a dialogue throughout our half-hour panel today. We haven't done that before. And given that it's Friday at the end of a tough week, I've asked each of our panelists to be armed with a cocktail. So you can give yourself permission at home as well. I might be switching over to a bookcase backdrop in a minute, since everyone knows that having a bookcase behind you while you're on Zoom makes you at least 10 to 20% smarter. And I also want to raise a toast to our sponsor, Brilliant. It's with their support that we're having this talk today. And we're going to hear a few words from Brilliant's co-founder and CEO, Aaron Amy. Aaron, you want to take it away?
Sure, thank you so much. It's a really, really timely topic. So Brilliant is a unique smart home control system that installs directly into the walls anywhere a light switch goes. It gives you smart occupancy-based lighting, Sonos control, built-in Amazon Alexa, video intercom, home automation that controls all your devices together, and a platform for managing tech at scale, all at a price point that allows it to be put into every single apartment you manage. Under shelter in place, we're seeing a surge in the use of smart tech by both tenants and landlords, which makes it even more important to deploy the technology in a way that everyone in the apartment can use it. So for example, our integration with Butterfly MX, which is a phenomenal product that Cyrus can tell you all about. Using that, a tenant will get a notification on their phone when someone's at the door and they can video talk with them. It's great. And you combine it with Brilliant, and anyone who's in the apartment immediately sees who's at the door, and a Brilliant that's built right into the wall. They can unlock the door for a package delivery with a single touch while maintaining social distancing. And meanwhile, operators are getting really creative.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Oh.
Nope, I think Felicity was getting on audio there.
Sorry about that. So meanwhile, what we're seeing with operators is they're getting really creative when they're showing units. They're remotely unlocking the doors, they're turning on the lights, they're playing music for a prospective tenant, and they'll communicate with them by video while they're touring using the Brilliant controls that are in the walls. So one really important thing to consider is that smart tech adoption that's fueled by shelter in place is going to be permanent. Once you've experienced all the benefits of smart tech, there's no turning back. So this is just going to become more important over time. And I should mention, we do free virtual demos. So sign up for one at www.brilliant.tech/demo. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you for all your support.
My pleasure.
And I want to quickly introduce our panelists before we get started. We've got Cyrus Claffey, whose company Butterfly MX has developed a smartphone-enabled video intercom that's in 3,000 buildings nationwide. Hi, Cyrus.
Hey, Stuart, everybody else.
We've got Felicity Moorman, who's the co-founder of Stratus IoT, which creates software platforms for large-scale Internet of Things, and they're specifically focused on multifamily. It's kind of the idea of like one app to control everything in your building. Hey, Felicity.
How are you?
Oh. I think you need to shut off your phone or your computer. And then we've got Kent Woodyard. He's a business development leader at Amazon, where he creates partnerships with tech providers. That includes building delivery and storage lockers. With traditional stores shuttered, Amazon stands to benefit more than pretty much any other company out there right now. So welcome, Kent.
Hey guys, great to be here. Thanks for having me on, Stuart.
And fun fact, Kent was actually working out of his closet for most of the time at home. He's removed himself from the closet and he's out in the main apartment now. So
I've transitioned, yeah.
Cool. So what's that?
He's easing out of social distancing.
Exactly, right.
Right.
You got to take it slowly. One last note, if you're not a subscriber to The Real Deal and you're watching this for free, please go to The Real Deal after this program and subscribe. If you believe in the unique value that we bring to your inbox and your desktop and your laptop each day with our coverage, you're supporting independent journalism, and it's only 40 cents a day. So I wanted to go both big picture and closer in today. Maybe each of you can describe what your company does and how coronavirus has changed what you're doing in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we all know.
Sorry, guys.
I think we're getting. it's rough for a tech panel to have tech problems, right? I think we've almost got her on there. But for Kent and Cyrus, why don't you describe what's changed, in the last couple of weeks? Obviously, we all know what Amazon does, but there's a lot of new things you're doing. And Cyrus, also, maybe you can speak about what you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I'll just give you guys, I'll throw out kind of Butterfly MX right now. So Butterfly MX, we are the creators of the smart intercom and the smart intercom category. We basically launched in 2015, and we're now in about 450,000 units coast to coast. And, we've done that really by focusing on resident and property manager experience, and then also really redefining what you do at the front of a building when you put a smart intercom that can be controlled by a mobile app, into the hands of the residents and the property managers, right? We service everybody from the Greystars of the world, who are national players, to folks like Iron State, to Clipper Equities here in New York, to the guy basically repositioning a deal in Brooklyn, right? I think what's interesting is our focus on the resident experience has always been kind of the thing that's been driving the market and adoption. And this is kind of happening in all kinds of ways. We've always had this ability to kind of increase operational efficiency at a property through the ability to remotely let people in without having to interact with them. And we're in a partnership with Kent and Amazon on things on how to handle package delivery. That's just one instance in which what we've done kind of previously just to improve building operations is really kind of having a huge impact on managing kind of the deluge, right, of packages that are happening at today's building. And it's this end-to-end, starts at the front entrance of the building, where we let in UPS and FedEx and the Amazon guys, hand them off to the Amazon locker system, and use Butterfly MX's package room to handle the rest of the packages. Kent, let me just kind of segue to you, and we'll come back on that.
Yeah.
Obviously everything today is going completely, delivery based. So what does that mean for Amazon, and how are you guys adapting?
Yeah, it's so everyone's familiar with what Amazon does in general, but this has obviously impacted all parts of our business. If you haven't yet, there's a good read on the Amazon blog. Jeff Bezos's 2019 shareholder letter just went out yesterday. About 90% of it is COVID related, and he said all of his time is focused on coronavirus right now, and specifically with our supply chain, what that looks like. Stuart, I shared with you yesterday, we're basically seeing kind of peak fourth quarter volume through the website right now. The difference being is it's April, and we spend the second half of the year kind of ramping operations to be able to handle the demand that comes at the end of the year. And here we are seeing that in March and April. So you've seen the ramping of the headcount. We just hired 100,000 people, primarily in our distribution centers, and as part of our delivery network, we just opened up an additional 75,000 headcount. A lot of those are going to be like remote customer service roles that are intentionally short term. You called out a couple folks, like we have some teachers who aren't working right now. There's folks who have been furloughed or temporarily laid off. And so providing employment opportunities that are meeting a need, but that then can be transitioned back to their full-time jobs, hopefully when life goes back to normal. And then in my role, so I'm over working the business unit that's over our lockers and our pickup points. Specifically, we have a multifamily package locker solution. And then we also have the retail lockers you might have seen in front of a 7-Eleven or a Chevron store, a Rite Aid, that kind of thing. And so when you look at just the strain that's been put on the supply chain, when all of a sudden e-commerce goes from already growing, but now it's like forced adoption by that last part of the population that maybe wasn't using e-commerce before mid-March. And so figuring out how do we build solutions, especially in urban areas like New York, where if it's not easy to get a package to you in a large apartment complex, what are the other options that you have for delivery? And then how can we remove the human element of that, just make it seamless, make it fully kind of light touch, no touch, technologically driven, to both drive safety, but then also, I mean, Amazon is more and more, it becomes like a public utility at this point. If you can't go to the store, if you can't leave your apartment, how are you going to get the things that you need? And companies like Amazon.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're rolling out technology that, enables people to have doors open without actually touching them.
Yep. Yeah, it kind of complements the locker solution. It's called Key. Some of you guys may already have that installed, where it basically gives uses Bluetooth technology, near field technology, to allow drivers to just unlock garage doors, unlock front doors, all monitored with cameras, all very focused on security, but allowing them to just deliver right into an office building, right into a multifamily housing unit, open gates, open doors, without having any touch required, and continuing to invest in that, as we know that's going to, I think this has kind of shone a light on how essential it's going to be.
Right. I thought some of the other interesting things that, you guys are doing, turning, Whole Foods into dark stores that are just from the fulfillment centers, right? And you have Amazon Go, which is your cashierless store, which seems like obviously that could be one of the futures of retail.
Yeah, and it's kind of, that's the crazy thing with Amazon. You start to pull the thread, you see all the different things that are happening, but you look at the Ring door cameras and the work that's being done there to allow, kind of along the lines of what the sponsor shared earlier, just allowing access delivery guys, being able to see them, the integration with Key, Alexa smart home integration. They've added a whole bunch of things you can do for Alexa to, almost like self-diagnose coronavirus symptoms, find the nearest testing center, be able to get access to care if you need right from home. And so it's kind of a cross-company lift right now to ensure that that we're able, and that's not even to talk about AWS and the infrastructure that they're providing for companies that are now 100% working remote or are doing Zoom calls like this that require server space. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot happening for sure.
Jeff Bezos said yesterday that Amazon's also going to be building its own labs to test employees, which I thought was
right. Apparently, I was surprised to see that, but there's no end to the ambitions.
Yeah. So Felicity, Cyrus has a system that is a building intercom system. You have a platform that for multifamily landlords, has best in class providers underneath that platform, and you offer the platform and accept providers, right? Tech solutions, right? So you mentioned when we were speaking on the phone yesterday that like the big hurdle now is just actually educating people about this technology. It's been there for a while, but wrapping their heads around it. Is that what you're spending a lot of time on now?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a wellness organization that is reaching out to the 1,300 properties that we serve today. And our first focus is just optimizing what you have on your property now. So don't reinvent the wheel. Take a look at what you have. Make sure that you've updated all of your features. Make sure that your staff is trained. We're doing a tremendous amount of refresher webinars. Obviously, property management is on the front lines as an essential service, housing. So we're spending a lot of time with our property managers, making sure that they understand the system. As we see turn in our property management staff, we're making sure that those incoming who maybe haven't spent 8 hours a day using Stratus really understand everything that it's optimized for, from visitors, guests, tours, those deliveries. We're seeing a 60% increase in deliveries right now. The last thing you want is piles of packages sitting in your lobby with residents going through them simultaneously. I'm certain Cyrus spoke to that. Right. So anything that we can enable with our partners like Butterfly to eliminate any of the challenges around social distancing or the lack thereof is certainly a focus right now.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask Cyrus about that. What sort of, I think you're seeing a lot of staff shortages, you mentioned, with people being out sick. So there's, what level of building staff is not present today? How much training do you have to do as a result? And then second, go ahead.
Look, I think both Kent and Felicity, hit on like some really important themes. So first of all, I should just mention, we've seen an explosion of deliveries coming into buildings. When I checked earlier today, we had something like 48,000 door releases as of noon today, right? Usually that's kind of a mix of both residents coming in and out as well as deliveries. That's now 70% deliveries coming into the building, right? Because it's a massive influx, right? And so I think that's the first thing. How do properties deal with that? And I think implementing technologies like ours, like Felicity's, and certainly, having Amazon in your building, kind of being able to create this frictionless entry into the building is key for helping with worker safety, but just dealing with this influx of packages, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing. Yeah. I think the second thing is, again, how do you implement social distancing in a property from a couple different kind of perspectives. One is, how do you limit then access of delivery people coming in? So you got to keep them all at the front entrance of the building and use technology to signal, hey, people are here, residents come down, but you need to have controlled access throughout the property. I think a very interesting thing happened is, the moment COVID hit and people started to lock down, you were able to use a kind of a cloud-based access control like ourselves, or what Felicity kind of controls, in order to lock down the amenity spaces overnight, right? You basically flipped a switch and you're able to control your building that way, and you're able to do it remotely. The next thing is, how do you deal with, touring? Because guess what? Building is a P&L. You got to keep like those units occupied, but how do you do it in a socially distanced, safe way in the COVID environment? And that's where I think what we're seeing a lot of is virtual touring, right? Is that people are starting to adopt virtual touring. Aaron said how basically what you're seeing is a wave of adoption of prop tech now, as companies that were maybe sitting on the fence or didn't understand it are having to look for tools that help them achieve their goals. In the case of occupancy, you got to have people tour. They use the virtual tours to kind of check out a property, and then you use things like unattended touring, right, which we're involved in a pilot with Felicity and some other companies, to basically get people there at the very end of the process when they've done the credit check and we know they're going to sign, but only at that very end, right? Yeah. And I think the last thing I would say is like, look, we are just betaing a new kind of common area and amenity space access control platform that's really designed, it's really designed for unattended touring, right? But what we're finding is now people want to know, and we're thinking about how do you maintain a clean environment at a property, right? Especially as we come out of stay at home, how do you monitor how many people went into the gym, the amenity space, the package room, so that your cleaners can come in and then like focus on those areas. We're working with a company, one of them is called Edifice, and some others, to basically be able to figure out, hey, people use the couch, there's 5 people in the room, let's alert property management that you've reached the maximum number of people in there.
It's almost like a complicated puzzle. I mean, it's like you got to figure out what happens with dog walkers, who uses the gym and when, bringing people down one at a time to get packages. That seems incredibly complex in a way, that the complexity that wasn't there before. So you need to automate those complex series of permissions, I suppose.
You do. And so one of the interesting things is, so those people who have adopted something like a Butterfly Max, like a Stratus, like a smart, access control system, like we're rolling out for amenity spaces, you're able to actually pick and choose when people get in. You can schedule the number of people who can get into a gym or an amenity space. That way you're controlling usage, but you're also monitoring it real time. The residents can say, hey, there's 5 people in the amenity space. Maybe I'm not going to go down there right now, right? So that ability or the kind of the foresight to put in access control that's smart today is helping you in the environment. I think what we're going to see, by the way, is new developments and retrofits are going to be incorporating a lot of this technology going forward.
I want to go big picture in a second, but Kent, you said a lot of buildings are overflowing with deliveries right now, and landlords are using outside storage as an option. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that looks like?
I mean, yeah, this is kind of maybe some landlords who were considering an apartment locker for their unit or for their property, but didn't do it, whether because of budget or spatial considerations or just it wasn't a priority until now. So what we're seeing is, especially in areas like New York, like Brooklyn, like densely populated areas, they just don't have capacity. So they're encouraging people to just ship to a retail locker that might be at a Whole Foods, it might be at a 7-Eleven. Now in Manhattan, we've got capacity problems there as well, where a lot of them are, we just know our network is constrained. We've got 7,500 lockers across the country, and that's not nearly enough for the level that we're seeing right now. And so that's one area that they've said, okay, we can't even have these in our lobby anymore. Like, please go send them to the 7-Eleven down the street and go pick it up there. But better and preferable in an easier solution, kind of to Cyrus's point, is if we can just add a fully streamlined, fully automated package locker to the property.
Is that one of the things you're doing right now? Is that something are you adding in package lockers, or is that considered construction and or essential construction?
We are, yeah, and it kind of differs from one place to the next, but we are installing every day. I know we had to pause some in like New York City and New Jersey during kind of the peak, but we do still have lockers that are going out. And now we're getting people who are looking, okay, this is kind of highlighted an issue for us. We're looking to after coronavirus and what can we be doing then? Because I think one of the ways that we think about it, one of the things that comes to mind is that the outcome of all of this is not only the health concerns and the kind of the different behaviors that we're going to be seeing, but also just the economic impact that we know is being felt and the rent issues that are already cropping up. And so we know that that property management companies and property managers are going to be stressed very thin. On-site staff is going to be stressed very thin, and they've got so many better things to be doing than shuffling packages from a carrier to a resident, or from like organizing a locker room or organizing a package, pile behind the desk. And so figuring out how can we pull them out of that, have them go focus on vacancies, go focus on serving residents, and have us. And at the end of the day, like, we've kind of created this problem as Amazon, like it's our fault. And so we're trying to figure out how can we serve both property managers and our end customers well through a fully hands-off, fully touch-free process.
And it's a tough time for Amazon too. I mean, you guys are inundated, and I know, obviously people saying packages have been taking, a lot longer.
Long time, yeah.
Before I forget to ask about that, I mean, how are you guys trying to address that bottleneck and, some of the issues with the speed of delivery?
Sure. So you've seen that with the hiring surge, right? Trying to get 100,000 people trained up and rolled out. Obviously, if you've tried to order on Amazon, you know that they're prioritizing essential items. So you can still get pretty quick delivery on essential household goods. But like, I ordered a book the other day and it told me it'll be here in early May. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of the constraints. But then again, hopefully kind of being able to then, as the capacity in the supply chain ramps up, then to be able to get back to more normal times. But the lockers and these kind of pickup points are a key part. Door to door is one of the slowest ways to deliver something, which is why Amazon is investing in these pickup point solutions where that could maybe pull it from 4 days down to 2 days if we can deliver to a pickup point.
You were saying in 5 years, Amazon hopes to have lockers in a 5-minute walk of anybody.
Every Amazon.com customer. Yep, that's kind of the target we're shooting for. So we got a ways to go, but we're hoping to get there.
Get ready to retrofit some space in your building. Hey, Stuart, I wanted to just kind of emphasize a point that Kent kind of made, which is something that we're hearing from all of our customers. So what's interesting, especially like when you look at some of the New York, like Class A doorman buildings, right? They are trying to get they're using their building staff, right, to provide services between the front entrance of the building and those residents. And imagine, especially if you have a resident with COVID, right? They're ordering food or they're getting food from relatives and they got to bring it to the door. The last thing that they want to be doing is actually dealing with mundane things like kind of package control, like turning on and off, unoccupied units, having to worry about kind of some types of, that new prospect who's coming back for the 5th time to see an apartment. Not that that's happening right now, but you get the idea, right? So, how do I deal with like the service provider coming into the building and help him get through the building? All of this stuff is soaking up man hours and time of the on-site staff. So any which way that they can employ technologies, right, to figure out, look, I only need to clean this part of the lobby, or or how do I make the elevator more secure and more clean? And so it's about adoption of technology to help them deal with like this unprecedented need to really provide actual intimate services, so to speak, to the tenants.
And one corollary of that, I think, is like landlords are going to be pretty squeezed, in terms of, people aren't paying rent and their evictions and everything else. The margin is going to be a lot smaller. So automating some pieces, I'm sure makes sense. Felicity, I wanted to ask, you have all these tech providers under your umbrella, under your platform. Are there any standouts right now? Cyrus mentions Edifice as a company. What you mentioned, some of the virtual touring.
Yeah, absolutely key to, well, literally key to our services right now. Not only, it really is about a seamless mobile credential experience. And Cyrus couldn't be more correct. It's partners like Butterfly. It's partners like Schlage for us with the first Bluetooth credential door lock in the marketplace. We have 250,000 Bluetooth door locks in the market today with them. That is enabling a quick entry into a unit as long as we have a seamless access path, which is exactly what Cyrus is talking about. So when you combine that with our tour partners like Tour 24, you really see an expanded services platform with Stratus and our partners. 88 partners, all of them stepping up right now. Proud to partner with Google Nest, not just partnering with us immediately in a fleet management perspective, so our property managers can manage those thermostats across vacant units with Nest for the first time, but also working with our utility partners to provide additional incentives to multifamily right now. Because when we do have the opportunity to come out of this, to your point about margins, they're going to be dramatically impacted, and every single opportunity we have to increase net operating income with operating efficiencies will be paramount to the strategies of our partners. And those are our portfolio partners like Greystar. They have to move. As soon as we have the opportunity, as soon as the hammer comes up, we have to dance.
I want to talk a little bit big picture for a second. There's a lot of ethical and different issues raised around data and access and, virtual technology. So like, what's to say that these intercom systems, and there's a lot of good that can be done too. So what's to say that these intercom systems, couldn't have facial recognition or biometric sensors, that they couldn't monitor health? Like, is the technology there? And like, what is your position on integrating that into your platform, for example?
Yeah, of course the technology is there. I think that's a tremendous restraint required of service providers today. I get maybe 5 to 10 emails a week about what China is doing with facial recognition or fever recognition. It just spans the gamut, almost unfathomable. It seems like Black Mirror sort of things, but it's available. It's readily available now. And I really believe it's up to the service providers, the technologists, to anonymize and privatize information. If you have a service provider who is CCPA or GDPR compliant today, they're already dealing with the privatization and anonymization of information to protect our residents. And our property partners they want to protect our residents. They want to be responsible to their clients. And so it's our job as technologists to provide that anonymization and that privatization so that we're not sacrificing our freedoms as citizens and residents for a big brother world. We don't have to go there, but it requires us to say no as technologists.
And Cyrus, you were saying that in your system, you could conceivably incorporate infrared to take people's temperature. I mean, is the technology there overall?
Yeah, I mean, look, so our hardware has sensors, it has cameras, and we're constantly kind of thinking about how we can report just back data to the property. I think, look, I'm sure Kent will agree, it's the same thing Felicity is saying. Look, we're walking a very fine line, in terms of, like, you're shutting down the entire economy. You have 22,000 people out of work. That number is going to grow, right? At the same time, though, you have HIPAA, you have CCPA, right? People are very concerned about their data privacy. I think what you see is for example, we take individual data privacy as paramount and very, very seriously, right? That being said, I think there's an opportunity to provide aggregate data about activity. For example, as I said, with our kind of this new common area platform we're rolling out, it's like, look, I can tell you there's X number of people who are in the gym, in the amenity space, how many people came into the front entrance of the building, et cetera. And you can use that information to improve, social distancing or to kind of enforce social distancing. You can use it for kind of cleaning information paired with other types of platforms. So, I think it's incumbent upon us, and I think people will want that, Stuart, because I'll tell you, I was actually talking to somebody this week who told me post-COVID, right, they feel that they're going to be marketing and positioning their properties as being cleaner than the rest of the properties. Right. How interesting is that? That's the new amenity, clean as a service, right? I mean, both literally and figuratively. I mean, who would have thought of that?
Yeah. If you look at, after 9/11, I mean, people accepted more intrusions into their lives, more rigorous airport screening because in exchange for safety,
That's right.
taking it a step farther, I mean, even the app that Google and Apple are working on to create a Bluetooth-based system to, automate contract tracing. Who's to say that can't be integrated into building technology too? I mean, it's the level of integration there seems like it could be, or there's that app that tracks what type of cough you have to see if it's a COVID-19 cough.
That's right. And look, I think this is going to be one of the unknowns that we're going to kind of feel our way through. There'll be kind of, a bit of a pendulum swing this way, that way. And kind of as an industry, it's incumbent upon us to basically, help the residents and help the staff at the building stay safe, while at the same time kind of protecting their privacy and, and all of our privacy.
The last question I wanted to ask you guys is, what does a building in 2025 look like? Felicity, you had some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely going to see touchless entry. And here's the thing, you can see in the grocery stores today with sliding doors. So it's really not as complex as I think some of our property partners are considering it to be. These automations of these devices are retrofitable, if you will. We don't have to start from scratch. And I think that is kind of a minimum standard moving forward. I also expect that, again, these properties are inevitably going to need to optimize efficiencies. So we're seeing a huge jump in our sustainability calls. How do we measure water? How do we know whether there's a leak somewhere before it causes damage, which is generally attractive to property owners and managers, but it's more attractive right now when you have to determine whether or not to send a maintenance person into a unit. If you have proof that there's an issue, then it's a viable opportunity to mitigate damage. If you don't know, or if you can't prove, or if somebody honestly right now needs visitation, which we're also seeing, there's a lot that can be mitigated from a damage perspective on these properties, and energy efficiencies as well. A lot of our calls right now, not surprisingly, I think, are around sustainability and the next level of intelligent building control.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you made the point when we talked on the phone earlier, I mean, it's not COVID related directly, but like this period of human inactivity has made people see how quickly the environment can repair itself. And you look at those photos of India and the Taj Mahal right now, and it's like a clear blue sky. And it's like, wow, this is what we could conceivably achieve with lower emissions and everything else.
We have an unprecedented amount of data around human impact right now. And I'm rarely accused of being a tree hugger, but I certainly think that all of our eyes are opened in this moment to the truth of our human impact.
Yeah. And just on the retail front, Kent, you mentioned, we talked earlier about Amazon Go and just, having cashierless stores. So that's technology that you're also positioning to other retailers and trying to export, essentially?
Yeah, offering that as a service, essentially, where we're going to continue to invest in our own cashierless, convenience stores, groceries, but then also packaging that system of sensors and cameras and just the technology itself and offering that to additional third-party retailers. So I think we're going to see more of that, certainly. On the residential front, I think, as we've talked about, there's this whole tension of like, oh, we can't wait till life goes back to normal. Well, then we also, in the same token, acknowledge like, normal, I think, is over. I think there's a new normal that's coming, and a part of that new normal is going to be this elevated level, I think, of digital interaction and digital purchasing. So online grocery, which has obviously exploded in the past 6 weeks, we'll continue to see that. Services like DoorDash, like Instacart, like Uber Eats. And all of that just means additional traffic and carriers and delivery folks coming into buildings. And so I think, to Felicity's point, the need for automated access, the need for an automated system to handle all of that is going to be really critical. So I think we'll see widespread adoption of that. And then the other thing that you see with new technologies, which we're all representing here, is that as it grows, price drives, the price is driven down and then the accessibility and adoption increases. And so that's something that we're really passionate about at Amazon, is saying, how can we make this available for smaller buildings, for walk-ups, for unit counts that are maybe a little bit, priced below where we typically serve, but they still need the same things that we're talking about here. And so I think that's going to be another key thing that we see more and more of.
Yeah, that's great. I realize I forgot to turn on my bookshelf at the beginning.
Look at that.
So one closing thought, Felicity and I were talking about this on the phone, is just to imagine, if this crisis had happened 20 years ago, like what would we be without tech today? No internet, no cell phones. I mean, it would be like the dark ages. So it just shows you where tech has taken us and, where tech can go. So it's great to talk with you guys. And I want to once again thank our sponsor, Brilliant, that's a really good company name. And I want to remind people, don't miss Monday. It's our politics panel being moderated by Senior Managing Editor Eric Inquist. And we've got State Senators Liz Krueger and Brad Hoylman, and also City Council member Richie Torres. And again, if you're not a subscriber to The Real Deal and you're watching this, please subscribe if you see the value in what we do. And yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for coming on board today, and cheers. I will see you guys sometime soon.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart, and Felicity. Great to see everybody.
See you guys.
Great to see you, Cyrus.